Ladies and gentlemen, Battlefield 6 community update dropped. Play Your Way, it's titled. Let's see what they have information-wise for us before the launch of Battlefield 6. We are now, as I'm streaming this, 2 days before the launch. Hello, everyone. In this community update, we will share how we are translating insights from the community feedback into changes and improvements to the launch of Battlefield 6 on October 10th. What we learned with over 30 Battlefield Lab sessions successfully completed alongside our community and a total of 92 million hours played during the open beta, Battlefield 6 is the most tested and iterated Battlefield in history, especially in combination with all the labs that they've... I'm surprised it's only even 30 because they've had labs going since literally the beginning of this year. So I don't know what the timeline is of that, but nonetheless, Battlefield 6 has more ways to play than ever, and through the open beta, we aim to validate at scale that offering multiple playlists in parallel would not compromise the authentic Battlefield experience. I'm assuming they're talking about the open versus closed playlist. Maybe they discussed that here. Here's a closer look at some of the most important data points that we reviewed and our summarized findings for each. Class pick rates. The map layout was the main deciding factor for class picks. For example, support had a higher pick rate on Siege of Cairo with the CQC-focused map. On Iberian Offensive, with more long-distance combat opportunities, we saw increased pick rate for Recon. Did Iberian really even have that long of lines? I think Liberation had the most. Nonetheless, comparing between open and closed weapons playlists, we observed mostly identical pick rates, with 1% to 2% differences at most. I wonder, do they actually show us the stats? I'm kind of a stats nerd. I think that would be kind of fun to see. But a lot of this stuff is all hidden. BR is supposed to be free. Yeah, I don't know if they mentioned BR at all in this, but we'll find out. Kills per hour also remained virtually consistent for both playlist types. Open weapon players scored 0.2 more kills per hour in Conquest and 0.1 in Breakthrough.
Yo, what up, Stone?
Yay, also 3 months. Thank you. Here's the main thing, though, and I don't know if they addressed this. The way that you could choose to play the closed weapons playlist was only for one specific playlist, which was for the all-out warfare, which cycled you between these two modes of Breakthrough and Conquest. It was not available for things like choosing the actual map and mode, which is mainly how I played the game. I wanted to just go on to Liberation Peak, so I used the map selector, and that didn't work most of the time anyways, which obviously can skew the data. Match length, match duration increased slightly with closed weapon playlists up to 45 seconds, or about 4% difference for both Breakthrough and Conquest. Yeah, that, I don't know if that's even I don't even know if that's significant. We also observed slightly higher revive rate in closed weapon at 3% for Breakthrough and 2% for Conquest, which coincides with a slightly longer match duration. That makes sense. So the more that you're reviving, obviously,
gonna be a big weekend for you.
The less tickets that go out, because that's how modes like Conquest and Breakthrough work. Every time you spawn, that's what triggers the ticket to go down. I also have a feeling, though, that the people that are willing to go play the closed playlists are also a self-selecting group that know the game better, that are also going to be more likely to be reviving because they understand how the game works. They're going to be sitting and waiting for revive times longer because they understand how the game works. So that makes sense, numbers-wise, obviously. Signature weapon usage. More players played with non-signature weapons in the open weapons playlists. Obviously, because you couldn't do it on the other ones. Maybe they're also talking about like the carbines and the DMRs and stuff. However, Recon players still favored sniper rifles over other weapons, and their pick rate was identical between both playlist types. Interesting. This sniper also has a benefit. So if you snipe as a sniper, you get faster rechamber speeds. You can hold your breath longer. You have more stability when you're sniping. So obviously, if you're going to be sniping, it makes sense to choose that unless you're going like as a recon because you still want the spawn beacon. But even in the beta, they didn't have that. If you wanted to play with a spawn beacon in the beta, that was not isolated to assault yet. This is fake? What do you mean it's fake? Crimson also with the 3 months. Recorruption also 3 months. Welcome back on the subbage. There was not a single dominant weapon archetype, and we observed a consistent and well-distributed pick rate between them. This balance shows that even with the different playlist types, players explored a wide variety of options with one class standing out above the rest. Without one, excuse me. So there was no class that stood out on it, which kind of makes sense. There actually were hard choices between them, I thought. There was a lot of benefits to each, although I probably mostly played Engineer. There was a lot of reasons to pick all of them. More so depending on the mode that you were on. I think it was more the mode than specifically the map, but obviously both kind of tie into each other. For example, I was more likely to actually run Assault or actually even Recon. I was playing Recon aggressively with even a submachine gun and the spawn beacon on modes like Breakthrough when I played it. Time in combat. There was no difference of note for time players spent in combat between open and closed beta playlist types. The actual differences were only fractions of a percentage where rounded up, the results were identical. Lastly, another key insight from the open beta was that the vast majority of players, after trying both playlists, chose to stick with open weapons. This reinforces our belief that the open weapons is the right path forward for Battlefield 6. And this is what I've been saying about this. Western, also thank you for the 5 months. I think realistically, for like the casual player, it is a benefit to have more ways to play. Where even for myself, like I was running Recon on like the close range maps, like Domination, King of the Hill. I was running Recon with a submachine gun because then I could have my UAVs and my motion sensors. And I think a lot of people who are coming from COD even, for example, are probably really going to like Recon as much as you probably might like Assault for the stim and the movement speed. It doesn't heal you. So I think a lot of people are going to probably even want to gravitate towards a UAV for that. And then when you can play as any combination that you want to, that gives you more playtime potential as well. Where it's like, all right, I've already played the LMG rule as a support, and I don't want to play with the LMG anymore. I want to try a submachine gun. Yes, that does force you to change classes, but then you can use a submachine gun as a assault. You can use it as support, whatever. And I know a lot of people who are in Battlefield community get pissed about that. They want it to all be locked and everything. But I think a lot of players are not even going to realize that, especially who's just like picking the game up. And they just want to try this different gun, especially like when it comes to progression. If you already have everything unlocked, all of the gadgets and everything, I don't think a lot of people play specifically for the gadgets. Although, yeah, even when I played in the last tech test that I got to play in and we had all the gadgets unlocked, it was nice to be able to swap between them all, but most of the gameplay came down to more of the weapons. Like I wanted to try more of the weapons on the different maps and see how each of the weapons played. I think that's the longer tail end of us playing the game. My guess is going to be unlocking all of the weapons and more weapons coming out more so than the gadgets. The most significant gadget choice is typically the base one that you have, like support putting the ammo box down, the engineer having the repairs. Although the RPG, the launchers that's a super big pick rate. That's a reason you take engineer as well. I imagine engineer, the main reason to take engineer on like a domination game when there's no vehicles is going to be the hip fire, the increased hip fire rate. Specifically, that only works for submachine guns though. Tama posted a tweet about it too. We'll take a look at it. My guess is that, because I know he's been very vocally on the other side of it, he is very much like, we need locked weapons. I know he's been very vocal on that. But yeah, I don't know. But my thing is that I like just looking at the actual beta and playing it myself, there are ways that you can adjust the data for these variables, but I also still think it's gonna like you can isolate it by that and actually run statistical models on it and everything, right? And isolate for factors. And I still think that only having that one mode though, like you couldn't do closed weapon even on domination. They didn't even test it. And realistically, it goes back to what I was saying in my other video that I initially did off of all my concerns for this game, is that they have the potential with Portal to cater to everybody.
Teamwork, make a dream work.
Will there be enough players for it? Will people find those playlists? Will those lobbies populate? These are all other questions TBD. But the fact that they have Portal and people will be able to play that way is already like there's so many different audiences, even within Battlefield, that is the ultimate solution that has the chance to solve it all. Is the fact that they have the opportunity to have the portal mode, and people can create the closed weapon playlist. They can do the big maps only. They can do the small maps only. They can choose however they want to. They can make their own custom maps. They can make night maps, rain maps, or whatever they want to, assuming that people actually figure it out and it all works as well. Brutal Ghost, thank you for the sub. Also, Bikabo, welcome to the squad. Portal and Battlefield 6 is going to be more like Forge from Halo. Exactly. Again, assuming it all actually works. And then that is going to let everybody play however the heck they want to play. You can server browse for it. They can feature the most popular ones. Then we'll be able to have the closed map domination. You'll be able to have hardcore domination, closed weapons and everything as well. Official closed weapon playlist. Additionally, closed weapons mutators will remain part of the Portal tool set, so players can create, exactly, so they can create that experience if they want to. I feel like there's a bit of it being disingenuous that they didn't fully test this. But at the same time, I think they have been, even though they haven't explicitly said it, I think they want to keep the game in open weapons for the sake of the
You can't wait for your stream on
playtime.
Friday.
Can't wait, man. Lose for thank you for the 3 months. Now, menus and play. And the one thing I'll say on that, I've mentioned this before, is even, I believe it was David Sterling said it, but one of the devs was basically saying in one of the conversations that I had in some of these tests was basically like, when we first played it, and maybe they even said it on the stream, I don't remember, but they said when we first played it, closed weapon, it was pretty fun, and then when we did open weapon, it was even better, and like it grew on them, and they liked it better. It made me think though that like, why not just start it as it, like the default, the playlist that people will play is closed, and then it switches to open, and then that's the content expansion, right? Is like season 1, season 2. The content expansion is that it goes open, or they start testing it the other way. But the fact that they're not doing that, even if they're not explicitly saying it, in all of this, that's how I kind of take it, right? We had one playlist that was just for the mode. They might have switched where it was even on the panel or whatever and done other things to try to test it, but the main reason I wasn't playing closed weapon wasn't because I wanted to play open weapon in the beta, personally. The main reason I was playing open weapon playlist was because that was the only way I could play Liberation Peak consistently, because that was how I could search for lobbies, at least the second weekend. Calzor, also welcome to the squad. For launch, we are okay. So now menus and playlist updates. For launch, we're also making further changes and improvements to the playlists and menus as a direct result of your feedback. All launch maps will be available across playlists from day one, giving you the freedom to play whichever maps you prefer. We tested having multiple modes in a single playlist during the open beta, and we learned that players favored playlists with combined modes. Interesting. Learn that players favored playlists with... Wait. We tested having multiple modes in a single playlist, and players preferred that. So you guys preferred like an all-out warfare where it cycled between Conquest and Breakthrough? If you guys were queuing? Is that a fair statement? Not me, no. Fair. No, just the bigger maps. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I banned them. We're fine, guys. No, Conquest is its own thing. No, I hated that. Open is garbage. It removes the class identity. Not for me. Prefer pure Conquest. Okay, so I would say it's pretty split, at least in my comment section. People are pretty split on this. Like I said, I mostly queued specifically into the map and mode that I wanted to do. When I got tired of Conquest, I would go play Breakthrough, vice versa. But according to their numbers, people liked the combined mode. We will continue to iterate and adjust players to deliver the best experience possible. We'll have the flexibility to play both single mode and mixed mode playlists at launch. Conquest, Breakthrough, and Escalation will each have their own dedicated playlists. Alongside these, you will see combined playlists with Conquest, Escalation, Breakthrough, and Rush, so you don't have to stop matchmaking when switching between those experiences. They didn't have any like map voting or mode voting though on this either, right? I don't think that's really ever been a part of Battlefield outside of like the custom lobbies. Because if you were in a custom lobby, at least on PC, in the text chat, it would be like vote for the next map you guys want to go to while you were in the game before it. So everybody in the lobby could all vote on what you were going to go to next. But I don't know. Battlefield Hardline was the best time. Yeah, that was good. Alongside these, you will see combined playlists with Conquest, Escalation, Breakthrough. Okay, so I guess we'll have the option for it. I'm curious how many people are actually just going to go straight to the modes that they want to, and specifically the server browser. You can always find custom search and server browser. Yep. Custom search enables you to select which maps and modes combo you prefer that you'll be match made into with these search criteria if available. You'll have a higher chance of being match made into the preferences the more that you broaden your search as well. Portal remains the tool for creating and customizing experiences, while this section of the main menu previously called Portal is now called Community. This is where you will find Server Browser, which is now prominently featured to make it easier to find and use. Separately, we will launch with Breakthrough, Conquest, and Rush as verified modes with the Server Browser. This enables us, for example, to feature hardcore experiences that we know many of you are excited for. Hardcore is going to be only in that as well. Inside of that mode, which I'm kind of surprised by. Like it's not just a main mode you can queue into. It's going to be a Portal exclusive mode. But there you go. Did they specify whether the Battle Royale mode is coming? They haven't mentioned it yet. Not that I've read. But it might be in this. This enables us to, for example, feature official hardcore experiences. Right. At launch, you'll also see new custom experiences designed to add even more gameplay variety. This will give you a chance to dive into the new and improved Battlefield Portal toolset, now featuring powerful options like spatial editing. Can't wait to see what you guys come up with for that. And we saw a little bit of this, like with a Stairway to Heaven type thing, where you could just climb all the way up the stairs, like an only up type game mode. What else did they have? They had the jet racing. They had jets flying around with people on top of a pillar with an RPG, shooting the RPG stuff out. So as people actually make that, and hopefully we can go on.
Can't wait for BF6. Holy shit.
That would be great. I've done a little bit of that in 2042, where like they had like Battlefield 3 Conquest set up in Portal, and I would just play that playlist on the day, and the next day it was set up as Battlefield 2042 playlist, and I'd play that. And that was really nice, especially if they have things like Search and Destroy playlist. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to come up with, what they're going to do, and what people are going to come up with as well. Like, to me, that's where I think the most of the daily content's going to be. Like, that's what we were doing before we just hopped in here. We were on 2042 inside of the Portal map. They don't, like, right now they have Battlefield Bad Company 2 Deja Vu is the pre-made playlist, but these are things that the devs made. So I'm hoping that they have some good variation for that, and that could give me every day a lot to do, especially community games for it. That's what we were doing before. Like I said, we were playing Battlefield 3 with the community. G. Martinez, or Martins, welcome to the squad. Astromod, second month, welcome back on the subbage. Battlefield hasn't had a regular hardcore on the front page of the server browser since Battlefield 4. Genuinely never understood why they did that. Yeah, I don't know. But even if they have like a proper free-for-all, proper gun game, a lot of these things that they've even had for those versions in the past, like gun game was, I think it was like 16v16. So you had teammates, but you weren't on their team. You were racing your team for the gun game. It wasn't proper free-for-all. They might be able to have proper free-for-all now. At least I don't remember ever having a proper free-for-all in Battle Royale. Or, excuse me, in Battlefield. Launch playlist rotations. We've learned a lot from the open beta, and we're using your feedback as a foundation for launching Battlefield 6. When the game goes live, you'll find a range of playlists to jump into, including single mode playlists. This is what they were just discussing, like Breakthrough Conquest, closed weapon experiences, intense close quarter battle royale battle playlists. Okay, My head is already in BR because I've read it from chat so many times. People asking. Intense close quarters battle playlist, action-packed all-out warfare. So close quarters is like Domination, King of the Hill, which is essentially a hardpoint, and TDM.
Teamwork make a dream work.
All-out warfare is Breakthrough. I don't know if did they include Rush as all-out warfare? I know they mentioned it earlier on this, but Rush is a smaller mode. I think that's 12v12, so it's not fully there. Is there drops? The drops are going to start on the 10th.
Make a dream work.
Chris, thank you for the subbage. Welcome to the squad. Frosty also locking it in. We'll be paying close attention to your feedback, adjusting playlists, and adding new options to make sure things feel fresh and suit your playstyle. Please keep sharing your thoughts. This is just the beginning. And I think, to me, honestly, it's not even... I'm glad that they have all of this. To me, this is like, I would expect them to have different ways to queue, play the game, and experience it. I think that's needed, especially for a multiplayer-style game. You need to be able to just hop in on different playlists and do that. Now, they haven't mentioned anything about SBMM here either. That's something, obviously, I'll just mention. COD has been testing no SBMM in their game because that's some of the playlists that I've been playing for the last couple days. But, yeah, the more... and that's even how COD was going. They just had all the modes mixed together in Mosh Pit. This is going to have both. This is going to have single playlists or a Mosh Pit style where it mixes them together. But it's still separated out even by large and small, so that's at least nice. On the horizon, though. Okay, so this is the future. Oh, here we go. Season 1. This might be the news. We are incredibly excited for you to join us for Battlefield at launch, and this is just the beginning of Battlefield 6. Shortly after launch, we will launch Season 1 on October 28th. This might seem like, oh, yeah, of course they're going to have a season, whatever, but there's been a lot of games that have come out from Battlefield. Even with Battlefield 5, I think it took them 3 months to launch any DLC for the game. This makes me very happy to see. This is good. October 28th, unfortunately, is so damn close to Arc Raiders that it's making me sad. But that is very soon after launch. We're going to be getting Rogue Ops, which has a new mode Strike Point, new vehicle, new weapon, new sidearm, new sniper, new attachment, with more, and of course, a new map, Blackwell Fields. Nice. That's good. Okay, our seasons will have more content than ever before in Battlefield games, and we will be unpacking that with you in more detail during an upcoming moment. Okay, so we got to wait to see what that moment is, I guess. There's much more to look forward to beyond our seasons as our team continues to review Battlefield Labs data, player feedback, and ideates on completely new ideas for the future, starting with an exciting new Battlefield take on Battle Royale. They don't specify it for Season 1 here, though. Separately requested for naval warfare has not gone unnoticed. I've seen a lot of people mention that. I've mentioned it myself. There's no boats in the game. There is water, and you can swim in some places, I think. Can you? Liberation. No, I guess we didn't see that. But they've had swimming in pretty much all the previous Battlefields, so I would, I guess, anticipate it. Yeah, they didn't have it at least on those three. And we didn't see any boat. We did see boats in the campaign tease. We saw at least amphibious vehicles there. They have mentioned BR before. They've said they've mentioned it before. This isn't the first mention of it. But they do rarely discuss it. So that's at least a perk up your ears point. Anyways, but they haven't mentioned this before. This is the first time I've seen it separately. We've seen the request for naval warfare, and it hasn't gone unnoticed, nor have the calls for certain fan favorite... Yo! The Little Bird! That's the one... That's the one I've been talking about the most. Every single time I see a trailer, I've been saying, yo, where's my Little Bird? I've been very excited for that. Platoons, which I actually saw a post on it. We might have to look at that sooner. But my editor actually sent it to me. He said, how are you in this photo? But we had one of the biggest platoons back in I think in Battlefield 4. We had the YOLO squad, and I think that was what we named it. But we had a really big platoon. I had like the logo that I made and everything on it back in the day. But I was featured on some asset. I'll have to pull that up. But yeah, I guess they want platoons as well. We appreciate all the suggestions and want to know want you to know that we're listening. With Season 1 and our roadmap ahead, we're excited to continue to build Battlefield that reflects what the players want. We'll continue reading and listening to the community channels, and we cannot wait to share more with you. So keep the feedback coming.
Teamwork make a dream work.
Join our official Battlefield Discord for more discussions and updates. Up next, the following gameplay updates will be included at our launch patch with over 200 changes focused on bug fixes, balance improvements, polish for release. Stay tuned for the full launch day as it gets closer. You'll notice that player movement feels more responsive with changes made for pacing and several movement issues addressed to keep players' gameplay smooth and balanced. One note from this, I'd mentioned this in some of my previous videos and everything from it, but they did make it so like B-hopping and some of the sliding that was in the game from the beta, a lot of people were concerned about. They did tone that down. I will say from after playing that initial test on Morocco Valley and everything, I didn't really notice much of a difference from it, but I also wasn't really going super crazy movement when I was playing it either. I think for the average person, they're probably not going to notice a difference. If anything, it'll just feel smoother and you'll have less people doing that. And for the people who did like the movement, you can still like jump into a slide in your movement in general. You can set it to tap to slide, and I will have some tip video coming to just like help go through some of the settings and some of the key gameplay stuff if you haven't been following all of this like a madman like myself. Weapons. Recoil has been rebalanced on automatic weapons, making long-range gunplay more characteristic, rewarding tap fire and burst control. This is a pretty big staple in Battlefield games. In addition to like things like the tracer round is only 1 every 4 bullets. So it's not going to fully track exactly where your crosshair is of games like COD, and every single bullet has a tracer. You do need to kind of control your fire a bit. Numerous weapon attachments have been fixed, so they now display correctly in menus and in-game. Gadgets. The laser designator has been refined with smoother deploy animations, updated visuals, and several fixes to feel better when used. The Law, this is a rocket launcher for the engineer. The default rocket, so that's going to be the first one that we get, I assume, with a more accurate trajectory, improving guidance and clearer sight. The MAS 148 Glaive is enhanced with more realistic missile path, improved zoom, lock-on, sharper scope visuals, and more reliable vehicle damage. Deploy beacons are now limited to 1 spawn per player, 4 per squad total, helping maintain balance and prevent overuse. That's crazy. So the deploy beacon is now going to be for the assault class. And if it's limited to 1 spawn per player, you can't just infinitely keep spawning if that assault player stays alive. Donkey Tonk also, thank you for the sub. Corvette, thank you for the 2nd month as well. Is Battlefield going to favor M&K or controller? It's more split than a game like COD. It's not going to be full favor to controller like games like that. Battlefield historically has been a PC game, so it's more balanced. Seen balance from the beta? Anyone know the max level? No. They didn't mention that either. Deploy beacons are now limited to 1 spawn, though. That's actually now limited to 1 spawn per player, 4 per squad total. That's going to really decrease the effectiveness of the deploy beacons. That's interesting. It's going to make it so that it's more important for you to actually spawn on your team, which is an effect that the assault also gets. They exit combat sooner, so that'll still be better. And then if you're playing the like stealth class for sniper, you'll exit combat sooner when you go prone, I think it was. You'll also take like the spot off of you so you can spawn people on you faster. So it actually, I think that caters more to squad play, but
you missed my super sticker before.
I did everything, DU. My man dropping the $5, first time sending it. How's it going? He drops it. Appreciate you, dude. Sorry if I didn't read that. Vance got you as well. And everything, dropping another 2. Appreciate you, dude. I just noticed in the Battlefield 6 credits your name, and I had to look it up. You disclose what you did for Battlefield 6? I mean, I was on some play tests and things like that. I didn't know they were going to put me in it, but that's kind of sick if that's true. I'd be curious where you even saw that. I'm pretty sure I was in the Battlefield Hardline credits as well, if memory serves. Maybe even Battlefield 1. I don't know. Maps and mode. Rush and breakthrough layout have been revised for better balance between attackers and defenders. Operation Firestorm has been updated with improved vaulting, lighting, and performance, while Siege of Cairo, spawn killing, and out-of-bounds issues have been addressed. This was a big one, and it wasn't even just Siege of Cairo. I think this was just the biggest abuse that people had for it. That was the one where you getting up on top of the rooftops of the bridge and that like deserty type of tan map. But people were able to get on top of Iberian Offensive as well. They were able to get on top of pretty much all of them. Hopefully they just did it outright for all of them where you just can't be up there. They just have an out of bounds thing, and that's what it sounds like they have. It's just going to be out of bounds. UI and HUD elements are clear with updated overlays, animated pings, new minimap options, smoother loadouts, deploy navigation. Settings and controls have been expanded with new options like VO, option slider, sprint bob reduction, camera roll toggle for accessibility, plus refinements across the platform. Still, I'm going to keep on saying it. They need to have some type of search option. It is one of the best things that Call of Duty has ever implemented in the game. And you got to give props where it's due. Even if you don't like COD, trust me, it is an amazing feature. You just hit a button and you could type in the exact setting you're looking for, and it takes you there. Even if it doesn't, like some type of something like that would be great, especially because there's 600 plus options for settings, would be incredible. Audio has been cleaned up so pings are easier to hear. Weapons and vehicles sound sharper. Missing delay effects won't go in the way of awareness. The biggest thing with audio is we still need to be able to hear footsteps. As great as the immersion and everything is, I still, at least in my games that I play, I like to be able to hear the enemies that are around me. It's just something that's a nice gameplay mechanic, and I can tell you after spending the last 4 days streaming Black Ops 7, that's been my biggest feedback for that game. I can't hear any of the audio for footsteps. There's so much going on in multiplayer there, explosions, everything. I can't hear any of the footsteps. Maybe that's intended. I know there's dead silence as a perk. The guys that were killing me didn't even have that. Or what's it called? Ninja, whatever it's called now. And I will say, from what I did play in the beta on at least, having it head-to-head now, playing the Battlefield 6 beta, I heard a lot more footsteps there than what I experienced in COD so far, which has been something that I at least enjoyed. Just what I noticed from my own personal experience. Netcode improvements, reduce desync, make time to death feel fairer, and address cases of invisible damage. I can't quote the source on it, and don't quote me on it, but I have heard that the tick rates for servers is going to be 60 hertz. I'm pretty sure it was a tweet that I saw quoted from one of the developers, but we could try and find that as well. That is already really good news. If it's at least 60, that's really good. I think COD servers are like 20, at least for Warzone, to my knowledge. So 3 times faster hit detection and stuff like that sounds like a good thing. We'll see if any of that's true. But there it is. That's the full recap for the update, for the community update. Definitely sounds like they took some stuff from the beta and the lessons from that. Sounds like they're on the right track, and they're taking as much feedback as they can from the lab sessions and all the testing that they have experienced so far with some updates to the game. And hopefully they continue this level of communication when the game comes out. Despite, even if things go wrong and like the people are mad about things, just keep addressing it. And I think if they explain where they're coming from on things, it's more helpful than not addressing it at all and just sweeping it under the rug, even for the sake of the, open beta stuff, the open classes stuff. I would almost prefer it if they just said, listen, we get it. A lot of you guys like closed. We have that in Portal. But we still think that this is it's going to be better for the whole community. And so we're making the decision on this. And this is the reason why, whatever. I still think that goes further than being like, yeah, this was your idea. I think that's a bit weird because, again, we didn't even get a try domination and the other things in closed ones, unless I somehow missed it. But I was on every day. I didn't see it. But it could be. So there you go. That's the recap.